Welcome to Body Count, the history podcast that covers death, destruction, genocide, and all of history's little miracles. Now your hosts, Jessica Burning Manor and Bethany the Skellington Skelton.
Hello and welcome to Body Count, the podcast where we believe history doesn't repeat itself, it rhymes, and a proud member of the Big Heads Podcast Network. We're here to show you don't hate history, you hate the way it was taught to you. Only one rule when we choose a topic: someone, or as is usually the case, a lot of someone's died. We give you this series of events in a narrative fashion, and by the end, correlate said story with current events. Now, I'm not PBS Ken Burns or Dan Carlin. If you want a Hoover-esque, just the facts, ma'am, history podcast, we're not going to be for you. I.e., there will be analysis and opinions. Then I have to state my opinions are my own. Know that I hold my co-host verbally hostage. Direct your hate at me, folks, where it belongs. It said tragedy plus time equals comedy. Know that we giggle at some occasionally rough subject matter. We are not actively trying to offend anyone. You've been duly warned. Now, if you're okay with all of those things, I'm your host, Jessica Manor, and I'm joined today by my co-hostess,
Bethany Skelton. Hello and welcome. Welcome.
Welcome. As usual, really quickly, I'm going to go ahead and get this out of the way. We've got a lot to get to today. First, our housekeeping. We are a part of the Big Heads Podcast Network, which is, guys, such a great collection of podcasts.
Absolutely.
Go check it out. We're super excited. Give them a check on social media, see everything that's going on there. But on top of that, if you love this show, please go and give us those 5 stars on iTunes or wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. You can say whatever the hell you want. It's not just to make us feel good. It helps us out a great deal on the business end, but we're also not complaining about any compliments you may have if you love the show. But please do. And I will
love
ask
a good compliment.
We always love a compliment, but I will ask this: if you do listen to the show or listen to the show on the regular, please do hit that subscribe button. It makes a great deal of difference. Now,
subscribe. Besides, when you subscribe, you get notifications of when we post new shit. So it's a win-win.
Oh, it is a win-win and a half. And it's always going to be weird. It's always going to be wonderful, because I believe that all of human history should just be surrounded by crime scene tape. And if we haven't proved that with the Romanovs thus far,
oh my God.
has.
I know. Oh my gosh. I have honestly, I should have just gotten a notebook personally for this entire Romanov series, which I really have used up almost my entire notebook. It's just funny to me because I had to scroll through and I wanted to read, I listened to the episodes, so I am caught up. I know what we're doing. I'm my head is in the right space, but it was just really funny because I was reading through and it's like, all right, we hung a 4-year-old. We're in Poland. There was a threat. Michael's father is still in capture. Distraction. We no win, no loss. Rebuild. And then as I turn the page, I have a count, but it's not a body count. It is a count from when I started watching Harry Potter. And how many times they said each thing. So it's just really funny to go from death and disaster in Anastasia in the tower before Rapunzel was cool, trained to be a queen, and then I turn the page and it's like, all right, first movie, there's 73 times they say Harry. I was like, and that's my notebook.
Just for our listeners, so they know, Bethany and I are trying to create some kind of Harry Potter workout circuit so that we can watch it together and do like circuit workouts to things like Potter, Harry, Voldemort, Dumbledore,
Snape. Yeah.
We're trying to do all of it.
Hagrid has, in the very first movie, Hagrid they say Hagrid's name 29 times. That is the same amount as they say Potter or Mr. Potter. I kind of put them together, but every time they say Potter is also 29 times. So Hagrid and Potter have the same count. I'm like, what?
What? Basically, what we're trying to work out is the number of ridiculous circuits we can get while we watch the Harry Potter movie together.
Exactly.
Whether it's burpees, squats, side squats, we're trying to make all of this up into a workout that we can do. And it's something that we plan to introduce to our Twitter once we have all the bullshit ducks in a row worked out.
Yeah.
I'm excited about it.
It's just really funny to turn my notes and be like, all this stuff about, finally, good news. We're all in this together. Rebuild. And I think I have STALV. So I obviously didn't spell it out. And it says beef with none Martha. And
Stoltikov.
Yeah, because I couldn't write that word. So Stoltikov has beef with none Martha. So, and then I turned the page, and literally when I turned the page, it's like Harry Potter #1.
Stoltikov and none
73
Martha
Harrys
were like allies, and they had a beef with the uncle. So yeah, actually, you know what? I can make out your notes. Good for you. Because Bethany and I's note-taking differences are vast.
Yes.
I have sketches and extensive notes. I have vocabulary. I have pronunciation. And that's why I love Bethany's notes so much, because they are so wonderfully disjointed.
Oh, my God. You would lose your mind. Because they're not spelled right. There's scratched out. There's arrows. I've written down things that don't really matter. They really don't. Like, let's see if I can find a good one.
We have the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, and all of those are scratched out, corrected to the number, but then also what the person was referred to. It is fantastic. I love Bethany's notes. They're a journey for me in and of myself.
I mean, I literally have a dot, and next to the dot is the Kremlin, but with an arrow, it says die, crime, death, criminals, which is literally saying the same thing, but underneath it in quotation says, good luck, here are the keys. Like, I literally wrote that down. I'm like, I don't think that's really relevant, but it knows it's relevant for me.
It is relevant, because I'm going to tell you right now what that means in our last podcast. We've got all these boyars and nobles that are vying for competition for the Tsar. We've had all this action occur, and then basically they showed up and told Michael Romanov, here you go, here are the keys to the palace. Have fun.
It's like the story you told me about your dad. It's the story you told me about your dad, about the basketball game, and he had a dip in, and the referee was like, he was running the clock, and he's like, hey, man, you can't have that on school property. And he said, okay. And he erased the whole thing and said, good luck.
Good luck. Have a nice day.
Spit into his cup, and out the door he went.
Like, I will say, I come by it honest. I come by it so honest. Everything that's wrong with me. But, you know, it's neither here nor there, nor can my therapist figure it out. Good luck.
You mean you're a psychiatrist? No, I just...
Well, I was trying to be diplomatic and say my therapist. But you and I both know, in fact, it is a medical professional psychiatrist.
Here, here. I'll cheers to that.
It's just like the last episode. What did we say? Our certifiableness aligns us. There we are.
Yes.
So what do you two ladies have in common? First thing out of the bat. Well, we're both certifiable. So there's that.
There's that. And that's why we're friends. I mean, that's not the only reason why we're friends, but
Has a large part to do with it. I have to
Yeah.
say, for the level of intoxication I haven't, generally achieved for the recording of this podcast, I have to say I am very particularly loquacious. I'm very proud of myself so far.
I think it's hilarious that you stumbled on particularly, but came out smooth with loquacious. I fucking love you.
That's how my brain works. What can I say?
Oh, well, shit. Let's get into it, girl. I'm ready to learn some more.
Let's
I feel
do
like
it.
we're coming to the end, at least. Well, sort of.
We're coming to the end of Michael. We still have Alexi. This is the worst part, guys. We apologize. We didn't intend for this to last this long, but I think you all know me at this point. If I'm going to do a thing, and you, if we're going to do a thing, we're going to do it right. Exactly.
We're going to kick it in its ass.
We're not going to do it half-assed. We're going to give you all the primary facts. What I intended to essentially be a 4-part podcast has now turned into one series that was 5 parts. The Rise of the Romanovs turned into the entirety of the Time of Troubles. And then I expected the early Romanovs to take 2 episodes. We're now looking down the barrel of about 6 episodes. And then after that, we promise we're going to go back to being ass clowns and covering, slightly more entertaining shit. But if I'm going to do a series, I'm going to do the thing well.
I just love how you're like, we're going to go back to being ass clowns. And I feel like we've been ass clowns this whole time. But, that's just my opinion.
No, I think you're right. I was just trying to negate the fact that we have been ass clowns for the entirety of a very serious part of history. But there's no negating it. We have been ass clowns the entire time.
Mm-hmm. Well, take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it. We're again offering you the door. So, when last we met and discussed via podcast, if you'll remember, you're all caught up.
I am caught up. Yeah, I'm in the headspace. We're good. Well, I'll be good for a bit, and then I know you're going to lose me again. So, I'm just prepared for it.
Get there.
Okay.
Michael Romanov had consolidated the kingdom, called off the Swedes and the Poles, and finally had his father, Filaret Romanov, back from years of captivity. All in all, we agree Michael acquitted himself very well. Yeah. That was what we had agreed on. That's what it was.
Yes.
Now, we have a way to go, however, until this Romanov dynasty is born, if you will. Luckily, and in some ways kind of unluckily, Michael would have his father to help him do just that. Now, 14th of June, 19, that's a door. And I was doing so well.
I was going to say, we went from the 1600s to the 1900s. Shit, that's a big ass jump. He's still alive? He's alive.
You're going to see why 19 comes into it. Let me try it again.
Okay, take two.
Ass clown. The 14th of June, 1619, sees an almost 70-year-old Filaret Romanov, fresh from Polish captivity, tumble out of a carriage and onto the scene like a boss.
Like a badass bitch.
Like a badass bitch. Like, feeling good as hell.
Oh my god! If Lizzo existed in the 1600s, if only.
That would be the background music to this reuniting scene, if you will. Don't worry, guys. I've switched to coffee. Where he once again.
You're no fun. Why am I the only one drinking now? Do it.
Well, I had, to be fair, almost an hour and a half head start. Where he once again sets eyes on his now czar son, Michael. Like, they cry and hug for hours, yada, yada. Nobody cares.
Mm-hmm.
Week later, filler at Romanov.
Nobody cares. I'm sorry, just kind of yada, yada, nobody cares.
This is body count.
No time for romance.
This is body count. We're not here for tit whining. So, week later, filler at Romanov, and remember, guys, he's still like King Tits Priest Man, was named Patriarch of the Orthodox Church, which makes him essentially the second most powerful man in the land after his son, Tsar Michael.
Mm-hmm.
And small wonder, filler at Romanov was well suited to power and kingdom building, quite frankly. Let's remember, this guy survived Ivan the Terrible, Fyodor, exile and tonsure under Goodenough, both false Demetres, and then captivity. This guy didn't do all of that to retire quietly as a priest. Sorry.
No. Excuse me, bitch, but I went through all of that for to be a priest. No. I am meant for power.
Sunday.
Exactly. Oh shit, I'm glad you knew where I went with that.
I heard it in my head. It was like a monster truck race. Oh my god. Sunday. Just really quickly, am I super glad that because we share this through Microsoft 365, that's a plug, guys, sponsor us. I love that Bethany can put her cursor exactly where we're at the story, because I would 110% lose it. So just so you know,
I got you, girl.
You got me. I get through this because of Bethany's cursor work. So Michael made daddy, and not that kind of daddy, though. Like, not
I got excited for a second.
Not hashtag daddy like we normally like. Michael made Daddy Romanov the Grand Sovereign, which
what's that?
Basically like made him Khazar. Oh, if that makes sense.
So like almost like second in command, like his right hand man, right? Like higher than his advisors, higher than his, all the important people, right?
Exactly. And I'm just putting it out there for next year's Derby winners. Like, Khazar is an amazing name for a racehorse. That's just me.
And it needs to be made. It needs to happen.
We need a Khazar.
I will bet on it.
We've had the American Pharaoh. We need, like, the Khazar. What a fucking name for a racehorse. So, Michael and Fillaret ruled together. You're exactly right, Bethany. That was very astute. So he was like so hard and so scary. Even Michael was shaking in his boots, if you will, scared of the old so-and-so.
Oh, damn. That's actually saying a lot. I mean, because Michael's been through some shit in his own time and has had to do stuff on his own. And you know what? Think about it. If your daddy came up to you acting like, even though he's been in captivity and been through all of, what would you say? He's been through Ivan the Terrible, Fyodor, exiled, under
He's been
torture with
forced to be a
Gundog.
priest. Leave your
both
mother
false
because he's a
Dimitris.
priest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I mean, he's been through some fucking shit, and I mean, not saying that Michael hasn't either, but it's one of those things where it's like, listen, this guy obviously is kind of probably supposed to be the czar. I know he's co-czar, but it's almost like Michael's like, well, shit, am I even capable? It would be some mass like, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Like self looking into yourself and be like, wait, can I do this? Like, obviously my dad's better at this. Like, shit, like, is he gonna murder me? Yeah, some serious self-reflection. Like, shit, I got some serious stuff to figure out.
That's the problem with Fillaret is because, you know, he probably should have been czar, but all of those things happened. And still, nonetheless, all of this shit happened to him. So he is so hard and so scary. You know, he's almost like that vet relative you had growing up. Like, you respect the hell out of them. Thank you for your service.
I'll get you your beer. I'll prop your feet up. Like, what do you need? You get served first at Thanksgiving meals. Like,
exactly.
You know.
But you don't always want to hear about like gutting Nazis or Viet Cong. And, like, you know, we all like fireworks, Grandpa. You know, we all like them. And they don't sound anything like Mortar's Grandpa Scary Hard Ass. That was Fillaret Romanov.
I love you, Grandpa Scary Ass, but can we not talk about how you dodged Viet Cong and like survived 3 wars and you walked uphill both ways with no shoes and 8 inches of snow? Like, can we not do that?
While fighting Nazis and having like ration stamps. Exactly.
Yeah.
That is kind of who Fillaret was. Letters show that the two addressed each other very formally, even in letter form. Fillaret advising and making the rules while pretending it was all Michael doing all of this. And they had identical thrones side by side, which how cute is that? Adorbs.
Well, and you know, that's actually shows, okay, you kind of already, in the last episode, you already turned me to like Michael. Like, I have some, even though he hung that 4-year-old boy, he did some kind of crazy shit. I have some mad respect for him. Like, I really do. And then the fact that he did everything he could to get his scary, hard ass dad out of fucking captivity, who's gone through some major shit, and then decided, you know what, Dad? You're going to be just as powerful as I am. In fact, we're going to have matching thrones. That's something you do with your fucking wife. Actually, probably not even back then. They probably even do that with their wives back then, you know?
No, women were far lesser.
Yes.
But that's neither here nor there. I can't say that they're not considered lesser in some states here, but whatever, you know.
Yeah.
We're not going to get into the modern politics of
gender
equality.
They didn't have thrones side by side either.
They didn't have thrones side by side. I mean, things were different. But also, and we'll get to, you know what? We'll get to it. We're going to go on for right now. So they had identical thrones side by side. Actually, no, I'm going to stop really quickly. And I'll say and remind everybody, Michael wasn't doing a bad job all on his own Z's. And while he might not, and that's why I say it's both good and both bad, because he wasn't necessarily in the business of building a dynasty, whereas Fillaret is definitely going to do that. But he was in the best interest of Russia. So we're going to eventually kind of get the best of both worlds here. And so we're going to go on with our story and leave it at that.
Best of both worlds. Sorry, I couldn't listen.
Who can? I was going to do it if you weren't going to do it. So the two diplomats together side by side also. You kind of see what we're talking about as the overbearingness of Fillaret Romanov.
Well, honey, I don't know if I would say it'd be overbearing. I don't know if I would agree that it's overbearing. I mean, I feel like Yeah, they met. I mean, I think it's maybe Michael just highly respects his father. You know what I mean? I don't know if I would
I
call
would
him
say,
overbearing.
who the fuck's gonna disagree with him?
I mean, if anything, Michael's being smart and being like, "Yes, Dad, let's do this together. Whatever you say,
Yes
Dad."
and no, and it's something really interesting that I continue to run into, and it's also because Michael, by the end of this, reverts to very much how he used to rule the kingdom. So I don't know that it was necessarily that, but I don't know that the Romanovs would have been as strong if Filaret hadn't been here to make it clear that, hey, we're the fucking czars now. Like, back
Mm-hmm.
off.
Mm-hmm. Not just Czar, but Czar and co-Czar. So if I don't say it,
So
he'll say it, and you listen. Like,
exactly. Now,
mm-hmm.
while Michael was elected primarily because nobody could influence him,
Mm-hmm.
Filaret was back now. Now, this could have spelled some time of troubles for Michael and the budding regime, but it didn't. That is how frightening Filaret was and how hard he was. He was the
At the word
strong
hard.
man.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You just called him a hard man.
I
Sorry.
mean hard like scary AF.
Yeah, no. I knew what you meant. I just took it in a dirty mind way. Sorry.
Well, we always get sidetracked by that.
Sorry.
Now, he was the strong man of the Kremlin.
Mm-hmm.
No one did more to guarantee, like I said, that the Romanovs were here to stay. You had kind of the best of both worlds in a sense. You had genial, gentle Michael and hard-ass, strong Filaret. You
Which
had
makes so much sense, Jessica, because we have been talking about like when you step in the czar position, you're fucking terrifying and you're a badass going like, listen to me, or you're a pussy. And in this sense, Michael got to be like, hey, let me listen to everybody's ideas and take in consideration. But you also had somebody that was literally his right hand man and father being like, fuck this, fuck that. No, don't fuck with my son. You better, if he wants to do that and he wants to listen, you better fucking do it. Like, it's, you know what I mean? It
And
literally the best of both
furthermore,
worlds.
you couldn't blame the czar for the decisions of the patriarch, which once again, in a way, separates Michael, the czar, the god king, as above those others. And we're going to get to that stuff. Filaret established elaborate ceremonies that further established and separated the God King Czar from his court, which is exactly what we were just talking about. I said, we know that power resides where it is believed to reside. So if someone controls your every movement, like what Filaret was establishing in the court, they are basically your god.
My God. Yeah, like the people praise Michael Romanov. He's given us everything. Like, let's make a monument and worship him and praise him and thank him over our meals. Like, no. Yeah, no, exactly. Like, that's
I mean, it's
the way it is.
touched on it, and kind of that's why I didn't want to dive into it immediately. We're going to get to it as the story unfolds. So
this all makes sense to me now.
So Filaret also ordered further extensive improvements to palaces and to the capital itself to further increase the prestige of the crown. Exactly. So that further adds to that. Filaret always kept near him men he could trust, which were his closest relatives, basically. And they were all led by his brother, Ivan. They were like the secret police of the secret police, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, because I remember all about the secret police, but like if now you're like the secret police of the secret police, it's like inside job of an inside job.
So we have that well constructed and not just turn loose on the countryside element that Yvonne kind of put in place. So there's there's a much bigger element of
System.
security. There's exactly.
Higher
Like
grade of
you couldn't
system,
just
like-
you couldn't just fuck around in this case.
You couldn't just eliminate the police, because then the other secret police, like there's just more levels like that are going to come at you. So talk about be heavily guarded there. Like that's smart.
Yeah, no, it really was. It was the SS of the SS before any of that was even conceived.
Of the SS of the SS.
Yeah. So a boyar or noble that even put one toe out of line, it was like instant imprisonment. 9 such men were exiled, executed, whatever, like first thing when he's on the scene. Philaret settled disagreements between courtiers now, as averse to Michael doing it previously. So even then, any blood, like...
It wasn't on his hands. It wasn't on Michael's hands.
Exactly, which further separates the Tsar from the rest of the normal, which again just increases that prestige that you feel with the crown. They're a godlike king. Now, Philaret's entire purpose, it seemed, was to mobilize Mother Russia. But it also has to be said, not in the way that Michael had initially done so. Because remember,
I'm curious.
Michael was all about reestablishing, just trying to get things back on track, whereas Philaret is here now to put in place those things that used to be about how the Tsar was regarded, about how you treat the Tsar, and it just further created that separation that the Tsar seemed unapproachable, unattainable, and in a lot of ways,
they're not like us.
Exactly.
They are not
in a lot
like
of ways,
us.
it separated him from courtiers, from the people, but it also really, really is going to end up helping to establish that autocratic god king complex.
Which I like. I like this whole setup. Like, I like where this is going, weirdly enough. But it's the same thing as I'm thinking back. I'm like, you know what? This whole system that Philaret is obtaining would not be possible if Michael had not done all the work leading up to this. He got the country and the whatever. I know I'm always saying the wrong empire, country, whatever. I know I'm always saying the wrong word on that, but it's the whole thing is he was able to be like, hey, you guys, I'm one of you. I'm listening to you. And because he established that trust, now we're getting to the point where he's moving himself up further and further away, and people aren't going to be mad about it.
Exactly, because ultimately, if you have a problem, it's now going to be blamed on Philaret, but are you going to come at that mofo? I'm not.
No.
I ain't going to try it.
You just told me when he survived. Okay, hell no.
Exactly. Like, oh, you think your little court treason's cute? Do you think you're Yvonne the Terrible? That's adorable. Get the fuck out of my face. Like, you know.
You're going to go to jail and die, so.
I'll just kill you. I don't have time for this shit. Exactly. And
I can do that because I am Kozar. Like, whatever I say is going to be welcomed with open arms. So.
Exactly. And so in a way, it takes back a lot of imperial power that we were really interested in being shared when Michael initially started, but it also makes a dynasty possible. It is impossible without the things that Philaret does.
Point. That's the whole point of this whole thing, is to build your empire, create a dynasty, a long-lasting dynasty. That's why we're talking about him right now.
And it's impressive, and at the same time also sad because of everything that's going to follow right down to 1918, 1919. It was both a good and bad thing, but I can say that right now, since we're fresh off of the vicious civil war that was the time of troubles, this is exactly what Russia needed.
Now, yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Like, I'm not smart or anything in that aspect, but at least because we've done all that extensive, well, you did the research and I learned about it. I fully understand why all of this had to take place for even Philarot to make this happen. Like everything had to literally happen for this to work in his favor. Period.
The dominoes fell exactly right, and that's why we have a 300 plus year dynasty. Now, Philaret was hell bent on eventually getting back Poland.
Well,
now,
yeah.
to do so, the crown would need money. Money, money, money.
Money!
Yes.
And who has the most money?
Take a guess,
God.
Bethany.
Church. The gods. The church.
That's exactly right. But not only that, Philaret reordered and organized tax collection. So nobles, boyars, people in general. He reordered and disciplined the church, seized church lands, and returned them to the crown. This laid the foundation for the enormous wealth the crown would come to possess in more recent years and come to possess as time went on. Landowners were given much stricter control over their serfs in return for their being constantly ready to fight. So basically, this is establishing kind of a Russian standing army. Now, while selling out, I know it's not great.
Hold on. So what? Okay, I just want to make sure I fully understand what you just said. So they've stricted landowners, like stricter control over what they do, so that they would ready to fight.
Landowners are given more land and more riches in return for they gave up the common man's rights. Therefore, the landowners had more ownership and much stricter regulation of serfs, which you'll remember is 90% of the population.
Yeah. Which makes sense because now if they are giving you, well, we're going to give you this and this and this, well, what are you going to do for me?
You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
Yeah. I mean, smart.
It was smart, but it's also smart at the cost of the common people because, again, these people are constantly being rallied to fight. They're essentially landowners were expected to constantly be able to raise a standing army in return for having 80% ownership of the people that work their land. Now, while selling out the common man, essentially, is what he did.
Yeah.
Philaret, patriarch of the church, was seen to do this. Not Michael. Exactly. So the Tsar retains his popularity as, this father of the people, and no one was going to try Philaret. And on top of that, Philaret was patriarch of the church. So the decision could almost be seen by the common people whose life was ruled by the church and these religious ceremonies. So all in all, they came out smelling like a rose. None of it touches Michael.
Which is actually pretty awesome of his dad to be like, you know what, Michael, I got your fucking back. Like, I got you. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to set you up for success and nobody's going to touch you. If anything, they can come at me, but nobody's going to come at me with a 10-foot fucking pole.
This is why I continued to mention him during our entire Time of Trouble series, because I wanted everybody to understand just how clever this man was.
Oh my God. Clever, I don't think is even the right freaking word.
And why it was that I don't think Michael is so very stupid. He got it from somewhere. He learned it.
He got it from his daddy. He got it from his daddy.
Exactly. So as border skirmishes intensified with their enemy neighbors, it became apparent to Philaret that they were their enemies were far more
smarter than you.
Well, yeah, but they were just far more advanced technologically and tactically than were the Russian armies. And this is going to be something that continues to be a problem in Russian history, is rectified for a short time by Peter the Great, who we're actually going to end with. But know that this will always be a problem for Russia. And it's a problem for Russia up until the World Wars, up until the Russo-Japanese War. So Filaret, as far back as the 1600s, early 1600s, is recognizing this problem. And eventually Michael's direct descendants are going to address this problem, which is interesting. And that lack of appreciation of that problem is ultimately going to be the downfall of the Romanov dynasty. Now, we're not going to get to that, but it's something to bear in mind. So now Europe, all the rest of Europe, is currently like balls deep in the 30 Years' War. Balls deep in the 30 Years' War.
It's a great. I wish they wrote that in my history book.
They should have.
Is currently balls deep in the 30 Years' War. I would have read that shit over and over.
Yeah. That's all they need to put. That's why we do this podcast. This is how it should be written for the modern era. I promise people would learn a hell of a lot more. That Europe was currently entangled within the skirmishes and the ultimate political struggles of the 30 Years' War. Nobody gives a shit.
No, I didn't understand any of that.
They're balls deep in the 30 Years' War.
The only thing that would make that better would be balls to the wall. Like, their balls are deep in the wall.
Well,
the 30 Years' War.
I will say that they're both. It was quite a skirmish, but this isn't about the 30 Years' War.
Yeah,
because Europe is balls deep in the 30 Years' War, it meant that there was a plethora of mercenary types kind of knocking around ready for hire. And these were largely English and Scottish soldiers, and they were hired to modernize Russian armies by Filaret. Filaret was doing all he could to build a base for a dynasty, but he needed a dynasty.
I mean, he kind of needed a dynasty to build a dynasty. But,
exactly. You're exactly right. So that meant that Michael needed to produce some
kids.
Yeah, he needed to produce heirs ASAP. And Filaret intended to get his boy married, like race you to the altar type stuff here. We have a problem though, and that was the fact that Michael was still hung up on our little poison victim, almost Zarifna from the last episode. It's at this point we're going to encourage everybody, go back. If you don't listen to the Time of Troubles, at least listen to the body count of the early Romanovs part 1.
See, I will never forget that. As soon as you started saying something that he got distracted, I was like, was it some pussy? It was some pussy that got him off track.
It's always pussy.
I was right. I was right.
All of human history is always about poon. Like, God.
Have we learned nothing from Bill Clinton?
Very astute.
Sorry.
Genghis Khan, so far in this podcast, there are a few others, but at least Genghis Khan knew that poon wasn't the key to empire building. Good for him.
Babies
were
the key. I'll take all the poon. Let me just produce a bunch of heirs, and I'll be set.
That's why Genghis was so very successful. There are many fish literally in the sea.
And as long as those fish make me tadpoles and babies, and I don't know why I said tadpoles, but as long as those fishies make babies, I'm good.
Exactly. Many a snapper out there, if you will. So Filaret took charge and sent his own doctors to go ahead and check out this girl again, who he found to be perfectly healthy. Surprise, surprise. So Saltykov and Michael's mommy, Nun Martha, and remember, they had a beef with that girl's family.
That's from my notes.
Yep, they were found out, and Michael went ape shit, which he doesn't do very often.
Wait, hold on. You said that they were found out. What does that mean?
Well, once it had been established that the girl was in fact very healthy, they brought Saltykov in front of a tribunal that it was some nobles, some boyars, and Fillaret. They questioned him. They found out that he had actually given the girl poisons to make her ill. So,
because he didn't like her, or
remember, he had a problem with the girl's family. They were vying for power at court, and Saltykov was Nun Martha's cousin. So Michael's mother was also against this girl coming in. Therefore, Saltykov and Michael's mommy, Nun Martha, again, they had a beef with the girl's family. They're found out. Michael goes apeshit. Saltykov was exiled, and his head was still intact when he left because Nun Martha interceded to protect him, ensuring one day that the Saltykovs would return. So a little hashtag Freddy foreshadowing there.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Okay.
That's why we've laid this little foundation. Now, Michael still wanted Anastasia, nee Maria Klapova, but Nun Martha put her foot down a second time and vetoed that shit. So, he's not allowed to marry the girl he essentially loved. This poor guy and his parents. Piece of advice for parents and grandparents out there, just really, really quickly. Best thing you can do for your children and grandchildren is just go ahead and fuck off. Don't make them feel beholden. Don't demand they do things your way or demand attention because, I'm sure Michael Romanov did, those kids and grandkids do whatever. They're nice to your face, but secretly they hate your fucking guts. And poor Michael Romanov was blessed with two such parents who thought it was their time down here, Goonies style, So I feel bad for Michael in all of this.
I do. It's the same kind of concept, even in today's world. You cannot push your children. The more you tell them you can't see that guy, if you have a daughter, the more you tell her she can't see that guy, guess what she's going to go do? She's going to sneak out.
She's going to get marriage license yourself. I mean, exactly.
Let her find out the hard fucking way. Let Michael find out the hard way that this girl is probably not for him. That's why his parents are so keen on it. But he's got to figure that out for his damn self.
And who's to say? I mean, he did love this girl. He hasn't gotten married since all that. I mean, how long has he put this off? He was all about this girl. Nonetheless,
that's a long time to love somebody. I mean, and to hold out on to one pussy for that long, that's some serious love right there.
You're the czar.
Who could have anybody?
Any pussy in the land.
But he wanted this one.
Exactly. Nonetheless, it was not to be. Martha forced some Russian princess cousin of hers onto Michael, whom he did ultimately marry. And almost immediately, Martha's choice then keeled over, died.
Saw that one. Saw that one coming.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? Poison. Who knows? It might have been lucky chance. It could very well have been natural. It could have been poison. Because as we both know, this story, as we continue into the whole damn story is full of poison. And as we continue into the story, it will continue to be full of poison. But I mean, I kind of do doubt it. It does seem like a natural death. Nonetheless, no kids from this very short union. Fillaret lines up another bride show.
Ah, Jesus.
This time, a daughter of poor gentry with no court intrigues afoot. They had no court connections, so she's completely safe. Eudoxia Strushneva? Yeah, Strushneva wins
Sure.
and is married to Michael in 1626.
Wow.
Now, really quickly, we're going to detour. We haven't covered a lot of the life of ladies, and granted, this is a noble one, but we're not here to talk about the peasants. Sorry, we're here to talk about the czars. Now, life as a czar's wife, the Tsarina, wasn't super fun.
It wasn't fun time.
No, wasn't fun times. You were secluded in the harem, which wasn't unlike an Islamic harem. The household was basically run according to the rules that some sexually frustrated monk wrote in the 16th century. That's how everything was run in your day-to-day life. You're always heavily veiled. You watched only church services, and you watch those through like a grill, like those door slit things that you have to peek through. That's what they watch it through. Your carriage was hung with heavy veils so that you couldn't see out and no one could see in. If you were allowed to walk out in occasional church processions, you were shielded from view by screens carried on all sides.
Fuck?
Yeah. You sewed all day. You were covered head to foot in clothing. When you even left a room within the Turin Palace, you had to kneel in front of religious icons, all kinds of bullshit. Makeup and mirrors were banned as demonic influences. I mean, you get the picture.
Wow. Poor girl.
Oh, yes. Oh, and of course, Eudoxia also had to suffer the constant interference of Nun Martha, her overbearing mother-in-law, a woman so hard that she lived through the time of troubles, unlike 90% of the fucking country.
I was gonna say, she still fucking survived that shit. I wouldn't come with her either. Like
I said, Michael's parents, man. Blah. Blah. Still, despite all this, Bethany, you can't keep a smart, more importantly, fertile gal down because Eudoxia thrived.
Oh, she had kids, didn't she?
Oh, she had just an assload. She had 10 children and
damn.
Yeah. The firstborn 9 months from the wedding night.
Okay,
now,
talk about a one and done girl. One time and she got it.
She had
active
more
ovaries
eggs than a chicken farmer. Okay,
I'm proud of her though.
Her hips must have made Kim Kardashian cry when he picked that girl. Oh dear God. So 2 daughters to start, but then the heir Alexei was born in 1629 with 2 sons immediately following him.
Wow.
Boy, there's nothing like that state of semi-constant pregnancy. What fun.
Like the moment she popped out a kid, she was like, all right, Czar, come here. I need you for another one.
But at the same time, it's like, it's either this or I starve to death. I mean, God, Jesus.
You produce or you get
1600s were.
Produce or die.
Produce or die, bitch. We ain't got time. Now, the succession was secure, and Filaret was just spoiling for a fight with Poland. Now, the Boyars felt that Russia was far from ready for it, but Filaret was maybe he saw his only chance when King Sigismund died. You'll remember him from all of our other episodes. Now, Poland was a mess in of itself. They had all kinds of parliamentary and king problems and all kind of bullshit with Poland-Lithuanian alliance. Not important. What is important is they were not a big enough mess that they couldn't still stomp a hole in your happy ass. Let me put it that way.
I might be down, but I can still kick your fucking ass.
Exactly. And still stomp a hole in yours. Still.
And everybody else's.
And everybody else's. Fillaret persisted. This is just something he wasn't going to let go because of the captivity, the slight to his honor.
Yeah. No, I get it. I mean,
you let one person with a beef from back in the old days into a government, next thing you know, you're in a perma war. That's just how it happens. So here's the sad thing, though. His war was a farce, and it ended in tragedy. Now, he raised an army of 60,000, yes, but it was woefully outdated and led by a bunch of backbiting, sister scratching boyars.
I don't think I even know what that is. What's backbiting, sister scratching boyars? What is that?
Like, they were basically all cat fight scratching each other's face to be in charge. I'm more important than you, but I'm more important than you. I should command the armies. That shit's going on.
Pick me, pick me, pick me.
Exactly. I'm more senior. No, I'm more senior. And so right from the beginning, you have a command and a leadership problem within this army, however big it may be. Still, things might have been all right. Fillaret did have an army of 8,000 additional mercenaries, modern and fresh from the 30 Years' War, led by a Scotsman, Colonel Leslie, and an Englishman, Colonel Sanderson. Now, the Russian army laid...
Sorry.
They're mercenaries. They're there for hire.
I know. I just see Colonel Sanders is what I read at first.
Sanders' son.
I know. It's just I'm a couple beers in, so when I read it, I said Colonel Sanders. What?
I assumed you were laughing at what you see is going to be the eventual problem because you've got a Scotsman and an Englishman trying to get along. Took that laughter.
Nope. I see it, but all I saw was Colonel Sanders.
Well, we're edging real close. We're edging real close to some Jacobite problems. I'm not going to cover it here, but let's just say a Scotsman and an Englishman at this time trying to share command isn't going to end well. Now,
bad idea.
Bad idea. The Russian army laid siege to Smolensk in August 1633, but the boyars in charge couldn't stop dick measuring and fighting who was who was most in charge, basically. Now,
my dick's bigger than your dick, so I should be in charge.
I'm most important. I'm King Pompadour of the army. Yes, basically. So this resulted in all of the army's major command having to be changed mid-war.
That's never a good sign.
No, which you definitely don't want to do mid-war.
No.
Because it's definitely going to stop your advance and your siege to change command. Think of the Allied command 2 days before Normandy was no, I'm the biggest dick here.
We're doing it this way.
We're going this way. Exactly. Then suddenly you change all the plans. Imagine the mess Normandy would have been. That's kind of what we're looking at. And that's what we're looking at here. Now, this gave the new Polish king, and you're going to remember him, Bethany, Vladislav.
I like his name. Vladislav.
To reinforce Smolensk. And again, like I said, you'll remember him. You know him. You'll remember. This is the guy still claiming to be the rightful czar from back in the time of troubles after some part of the country voted that he was czar.
Mm-hmm. Before foreigners army, right?
Yeah, before the no foreigners army. You're exactly right. That King Vladislav. So now, because you've had to do this, exactly, you've had to do this midterm change of leadership, he's got time to reinforce and prepare for all your bullshit. And like I said, they may have been disorganized and they may have been a mess, but not enough to stomp a hole in your ass. So by October 1633, the Russian army already lost 2,000 men in just one battle. And worst of all, they're running low on food supplies, which big surprise, as they'd only just gotten food back during the peace.
Yeah. Like, we're just cool. Like, now, like, we're not ready for you to fuck shit up again.
Oh,
like, can you give me a minute?
Guys, mass food is still kind of new to us. Like, you see the problem here. Exactly. Now, the boyars in charge start panicking, and the situation starts to deteriorate rapidly. The mercenary army might have held despite all of that and kind of taken leadership, but the Scot Leslie and the Englishman Sanderson hated each other so much that they began accusing each other of treason. Now, this culminated in a brawl in front of the entire army, and Leslie just shot Sanderson dead. So,
sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but
there goes your mercenary army on top of everything else. And then,
okay, bye. Bye.
Then, on top of all of that, the boyars just up and negotiate a surrender, sends order from the crown to do so with the Poles. So that means they didn't have an order from Fillaret, they didn't have an order from Michael to negotiate a peace, but because they were so chicken shit, took it upon themselves to just do it. Yeah. How well do you think that's gonna go over?
Fucking fantastic. No,
like a lead ball in water. Exactly. So February 1634 saw the Russians march out defeated, and Vladislav, who still claimed to be Tsar, saw his chance to take Moscow. As the Poles advanced, the boyars who surrendered without orders from the crown were arrested, tried for treason, and beheaded for kissing the Catholic cross, essentially, which, as you and I both know, is a big no-no.
Oh, no.
We'll all remember that. No foreigners army. Now, all would definitely have been lost, but Russia got lucky AF, man.
They always do.
They always do. Just so happened the Ottoman Sultan chose this of the Ottoman Empire. I think it's Murad IV. I can't remember exactly. Chose this moment to invade Poland when their pants were down around their ankles. Like,
talk about striking while the iron's hot.
If you're Russia, how lucky did you just get? Vladislav, of course, is forced to make a peace with Russia so he can deal with his own Ottoman invaders. The 17th of May, Poland and Russia signed the perpetual peace. Vladislav keeps Smolensk, but he gives up his claim to the Russian crown and recognizes once and for all that Michael Romanov I is in fact the Tsar.
Like, bitch, get yourself in check. Like, remember.
Accidental win for Russia once again.
Hey, no, actually not a win, not a loss. So again, breaking even here.
Breaking even. Michael is good at breaking even. Now, it was Michael who negotiated the peace, because in the midst of this fiasco of his own making, Fillaret Romanov dies at the height of the crisis.
Oh, shit. That's kind of sad.
Is it, though? Because think where we'd be. Do you think he would have signed that shit?
No, you're right. Because he was kind of going down a path of vengeance, and we all know what happens when you start doing things out of vengeance.
Exactly. He got us here, and then he fucked it up, all this peace, all this prosperity, and now he wants to
Everything
start
Michael worked
shit
for.
with Poland.
Like everything Michael worked to fix.
That's right. Because remember, Michael had made at least a 14-year peace. Who knows what would have happened at the end of that? Russia would have been rebuilt by that time. So it's a good thing. It's a bad thing. It is what it is. Filaret has a lot to do with establishing our dynasty, but this also set us back. Then Martha died not long after Filaret in 1633, and Michael, at age 35, was left alone to rule once more.
Mm.
Yeah. So his father's most trusted advisors, of course, rallied to Michael's side, and all was peace once more in the land of the Muscovite Duchy, aka Russia.
Gotcha.
Michael could really settle into the business of now tending to his son and heir, Alexei, who was all exuberance, where his father, Michael, was all docility, Now, Michael found the boy a well-born nobleman as his tutor. Traditionally, czars were only given very rudimentary educations, ensuring that they would rely on the advice of their courtiers. Exactly. But Alexei's tutor, Boris Morozov, I believe is it, Boris Morozov, took it further. Michael saw Alexei learn Latin, Greek, and Polish. A library was amassed for Alexei's use, and Morozov taught Alexei all about new, burgeoning Western technology. Michael gave Alexei his own garden, musical instruments, and the two enjoyed many entertainments, including, for whatever reason, some 16 dwarves that were employed and dressed up in matching outfits. Kind of shit. I promise this is not going to be the last we hear about fucking dwarves being collected like Hummel figurines.
It's funny you say that because my grandma collects Hummels. So
yeah, well, imagine if they were living, breathing people. That continues to happen in the story. We are far from done with it, and it's gonna get more weird. Now, again, #Freddie foreshadowing. Michael made the right choice appointing Morozov, and rather unusually for the Kremlin, Alexei grew up happy.
Oh, wow. That never happens. That never happens.
A well-adjusted heir to the Russian crown. That never fucking happens.
No trauma, gets whatever he wants, educated. I mean, that's setting the boy up for some serious success there.
We're doing well in this story. Don't worry, it will take a dark turn eventually. We got a lot to go in the early Romanovs, but in 1639, tragedy strikes. Two of Michael's sons kicked the bucket back to back, a 5-year-old and one that had just come out of the oven, like just been born.
The way you said that, they kicked the bucket. I was like,
people die in our stories, Bethany. I don't know what other way to put it. I'm so sensitized to it at this point.
It just kind of made me laugh.
Again, we assume natural deaths because to have a kid, let alone one make it to adulthood, was still quite a feat in 1639.
And she had 10. Didn't she have 10?
Yes, she did.
So, I mean,
round of applause for Eudoxia.
And only have 2 die? That's saying something. Usually it's like all of them but one. So
just saying, thank God for vaccines, but that's probably not going to last much longer in this country. Doesn't work if we don't all do it, people. Otherwise, we have all those fun child deaths. I'm going to get off my high horse. We don't want to get political. I'm sorry. No. So, I say they're natural deaths, though. Who knows in the Kremlin? It was most likely natural, but I'm not ruling out poison times. Who freaking knows?
Poison times is kind of like a repeating factor throughout this whole thing. So
yeah, that's why it's our rhyme. Poison, poison everywhere, and everyone did drink. God.
yes.
Okay, so the tragedy took its toll on Michael. By 1645, he was ill with scurvy, dropsy, and then just like good old-fashioned depression. And probably extreme stress, because I can't imagine being Tsar was super calming. It's not like a spa experience.
It's not like yoga.
No.
No.
He's not like Gwyneth Paltrow gooping his way through life. No, he's got some serious shit to worry about here.
Well, and not only that, he's been through some serious shit.
Oh, I mean, you're right.
Leading up to that, like, and then his father, and then all of that. Like, I'm surprised. Honestly, I'm surprised he's made it this far without losing his goddamn mind.
And as successfully. So, you know what? Win for Michael. Win for Michael.
He might have done, like, even, you know, when it comes to the fights and then the wars, he might have evened out. But for winning at life, he's doing just fine.
Oh, God, 110%. Now, Michael spent so much of his time crying by this point that doctors seriously diagnosed deluge of tears as one of his conditions. I don't know. Like they said, it was making his organs cold or some crazy shit.
Okay. That's a new one. Sure.
It just is what it is. He was bled, purged, all the old-timey doctor bullshit that just, you know, essentially made it worse.
Cocaine. Just give him some cocaine.
He needed some coke. He needed a little bit of the old 80s medicine, if you will. After fainting in church, Michael took to his deathbed, never again to rise. So, well, how do you think this one was going to end? He does have to die to get to the next Romanov, Bethany.
I know. I just thought we may have like another 30 years on him or something.
No. Everyone at this point is super on edge because there's no law of succession, and there actually wouldn't be until I think 1796. I wrote that down, but I'm not 110% sure. I'm 98% sure I'm correct. A power change was to be the ultimate test for this budding Romanov regime. Now, the Tsarina and the heir Alexei and Alexei's tutor for 13 years now, Morozov, were summoned to Michael to say goodbye. Michael blessed Alexei as the next Tsar and said to Morozov, and again, some hashtag Freddy foreshadowing, to my boyar I entrust my son and employ you, even as you've served us joyfully, living with us for 13 years, so keep serving him now. And so in 1645, Michael Romanov kicked the bucket, died, dead as hell. So Alexei's second cousin, Nikita Romanov, was first to take the oath of loyalty to the new Tsar, Alexei Romanov I. Others, committed primarily to no foreign interference and peace in the land of Russia, hurried to follow. There was no call for General Assembly to vote the new Tsar because the Romanovs, they didn't need it. That's exactly right.
They didn't need it. And because Michael did such a good job, he kind of set Alexei up for success.
Michael and Philaret both.
I mean,
Alexei was Tsar by the will of God, so it seemed, and no one else's. The Romanovs had arrived and a dynasty was born. And so, Bethany, we will pick up there next week with Alexei
Yeah.
Romanov the first.
I feel like I've learned so freaking much right now. I'm so on board right now. I am like ready. All right, bring on the next. You only rule once, so make it count. And you know what to say? It is of all the craziness we went through leading up to Michael Romanov, I am thoroughly impressed that through this entirety, Michael Romanov has kind of been the only czar for a really long time. Like a really long time.
He
And he took
acquitted
Yoro
himself well.
seriously. He took Yoro to heart, man. He was like, look, I got one shot at this and I'm gonna make it count. And he did. Produced heirs, made peace, found justice, united the country, whatever, created a dynasty. Like, I am like, all right, dude. Way to get it.
Oh, baby girl, though. We are getting ready for Alexei. It will be good. There is going to be some trouble, lots of weird death. And then a lot more betrayal, poisoning, weird death.
Oh, God.
And then we're
History
going to get...
doesn't repeat itself, but it sure does rhyme.
Yes, it does.
God
But
bless
then
America.
we are going to finish with perhaps the greatest of the Romanovs, Peter the Great.
The Great. Which is somebody that I recognize more. Every time, it's so funny. You started back, so far back that I was like,
who the fuck are these
people? And now we're getting to people like, oh, I know that name.
But unlike Yvonne the Great, this one earned the title with fucking stars. Let me tell you that. He was a dick, but he was also a fucking czar if there ever was one. I will say that.
Yeah. So who did we kill this week? I don't feel like we talked about exactly who we killed. I know we killed people, but I don't know.
We killed yet another Russian army, bunch of peasants, a scary priest, his not wife, nun Martha, a Tsarina, possibly some kids, bunch of nobles, warriors, some random English dude. Oh, and you know, a czar.
A good one. A good czar at that. And I don't care what anybody says.
I agree. That is our assessment and our belief here. Michael Romanov was not somebody to be taken as lightly as he often is. So interesting week for us, really and truly.
I liked it though. This was actually one that I thoroughly enjoyed.
Easy to understand. It's going to get easier to follow.
But, I'm kind of happy about that. Because guess what? I didn't write any notes down. I didn't have to.
Well, we're less. It's getting less confusing. But I will tell you, by the time we finish Alexei, it's going to get more confusing and then less confusing.
Oh God! It's the circle of the czar.
Exactly. I can't say it gets better. I can't say it gets worse. Russian history is weird. It's wonderful. And there's a reason to look at all this shit because, again, if you don't think that all of this shit doesn't resemble the Kremlin today, I can only say you have never read a fucking newspaper. Congratulations, friend. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. So we're going to wrap it up. Just want to remind you guys, we're going to get Patreon back up and running here pretty soon. We're just trying to get back in. We're just trying to get back into, oh shit, we have to do this every week. It is sometimes surprising to us. Even still, social media. First thing we want to do, though, go ahead, check out the collective of podcasts that we do belong to at bigheadsmedia.com and at bigheadsmedia on Twitter. As always, huge thank you to at Massive Late Fee. We don't exist without you guys. You are fantastic. Please do subscribe, rate, review, listen to the show wherever you catch podcasts. Our website is www.bodycount BodyCountHistoryPod.com. We are Body Count Pod at Twitter and Instagram. That's the only things we're on. Yada yada. You get the picture. Now, Bethany, where do people follow you?
Okay, you can find me on Instagram at BethanyRN24, and then on Twitter, Bethany Skelton 5, number 5, and that's it.
And I am Jessica B. Manor, Manor, like the house, not the behavior, at Twitter and Instagram. And holy hell, despite how much we've already drank, I feel like that went incredibly smoothly and largely curse-free. Good for us.
Yeah, pat yourself on that back, girl, because I'm doing it now.
I am putting on my czar crown of podcasting right now.
A czar crown that wasn't stolen back in the day.
Back in the day. So that's exciting. I don't have anything else to add. Are you all good?
No, I'm fucking fantastic.
Fantastic. We're starting to feel it now, guys. You can start to hear it. I'm glad we got through that.
Yay.
See you all back here next week with Alexei Romanov the First. Bye-bye.
Bye.